Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast in the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week. And we are on our fourth and final episode of our mini-series, if you will, on rebuilding your life. If you've been with me for the last 3 weeks and the last 3 episodes, we've covered quite a bit of ground. If you're just tuning into this one first, I highly recommend that you go back and listen to the previous 3. It's not a necessity. They kind of build on each other, but they are independent. It would just be helpful for some reference. If not, just keep listening on. It's going to be beneficial, I promise you. We've talked in the last 3 weeks about finding your direction. We've talked about building your structure, and we've talked about developing the skills you need to navigate this new chapter. But today, what we're going to talk about is what I feel the glue that holds it all together. Today, we're going to talk about your environment. Before I jump in, I just wanted to welcome. We got a couple of new members to the community. Those are Trey and Norm. Welcome to the Divorced Advocate community. Those of you who have listened for a long time know about the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com. If you don't, go check it out. We've got all kinds of resources for you wherever you're at in your divorce journey and at whatever monetary financial position you're in, from stuff that's free to stuff that's paid. We've got something there for you to get the support that you need and ensure that you are the dad that you deserve to be in your kiddos' lives. Let's just put it that way. Okay, let's jump in here now and jump into environment. So you can have the best goals in the world. You can have the discipline of a Navy SEAL. But if your environment is designed to work against you, by Friday afternoon, Friday evening, which is when I'm recording this right now, as a matter of fact, you're going to crash. And actually, I feel absolutely terrific after this week. And it was probably one of the busiest weeks. I'm not tooting my horn or anything, but I am saying that you don't have to feel worn out by Friday afternoon, particularly if you've created the environment that is going to be conducive for you to be successful throughout an entire week. So what we're going to talk about in this final episode, we're going to explore why change becomes infinitely easier when your surroundings support you and don't work against you, and how to redesign your space and your mind. So those are 2 different things, and we're going to talk about that to make success inevitable. So let's jump in. We talked about the willpower trap earlier, and I just want to start with, I used to think that change was 100% about discipline, right? I thought if it was a struggle, it was going to be, it was because I thought if I was struggling, it was because I wasn't trying hard enough, right? So I thought if I just white knuckled it, I could force my life into a new shape or move it in the right direction. Divorce taught me that is wrong. I'm sure that there's a lot of you listening right now that are probably agreeing with that, going, oh yeah, that is true. And so one of the other realizations I had is that change isn't about discipline. It's about environment. So change is not just about discipline. We talked, go back, listen to the first episode about willpower and the finite amount of willpower that you have. Change is not about discipline. It's about your environment. And this is the truth. When my environment stayed the same, what happened was my habits stayed the same, even after divorce. If I sat in the same chair, watched the same shows, kept the same junk in the fridge, I fell right back into the same patterns I was trying to escape. So, auditing the external. I want you to take a moment right now, look around your space and look at your schedule. What is your life? What in your life is pulling you toward distraction? What is pulling you toward anger? What is making it easy for you to numb out? I just want you to ask yourself those three questions. Stop. I'm going to say them again. I'm going to pause. So what we're doing is we're auditing your environment. You need to audit your environment. What in your life is pulling you toward distraction? Even if you want to pause this and take out your journal that we talked about and journal this, that would be a really good idea too right now. The second question is, what is pulling you toward anger or toward any emotion that you might be feeling on a regular basis? Maybe that's sadness. The last question is, what is making it easy for you to numb out? We talked about presence in one of the last few episodes. What is making it easy for you to numb out right now and not maybe pay attention to what you need to be doing or be focused on? Okay. And you need to be ruthless. I had to be ruthless with myself on this. And some of the things that came to me when I asked myself these questions was I realized that having not curating where I'm getting my information and news on a regular day was keeping me in a low grade of anxiety and anger. So what I started to do is I turned off everything and I started deciding what I was going to consume and, as importantly, when I was going to consume that. So that was one of the realizations that I came to, right? And that answered the question of what was pulling me in a direction of distraction. Another one was I realized that alcohol was not beneficial. It wasn't a treat. It was maybe more so of a stress relief valve, but it was killing my energy. So I removed it. And since I've removed it, I can tell you energy levels, everything, there's nothing about alcohol that has been missed in my life. It really, when I look back on it, I just see that it was a toxin that I kept putting into my body that kept me from living an optimal life. So that was another one. The one, and look, this is really just a partial list, guys. Let me tell you, like, there's a lot of realizations over the dozen years since divorce that I've come to, and I'm just sharing a few. Like, I could go on forever because this has been an ongoing journey, and this is an ongoing journey. You're going, even with your environment, you're going to be realigning, trying new things, implementing them, see what works. Some will, some won't. It's an ongoing thing. That's just life. There's no goal line. You're not going to just finish this up, be done, and have it all figured out. The last one I realized was late night distractions, maybe going out too late, hanging out with friends, going on dates, scrolling social media till late at night. This was robbing me of sleep, and I needed that sleep in order to handle the emotional weight of divorce. One of the big things when we're talking in our groups is about what you're doing mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And physically comes down to, are you getting good sleep? Are you eating right? Are you exercising? And the sleep thing for me was something that I had to align, and created a whole routine around how I sleep now, when I go to sleep, what my room's like, what the conditions are, all of that entire environment. And again, I'm going to say it didn't all happen at once. I didn't have this realization and go, the beginning it was like, I just got to go to bed earlier, and just started doing that, and then added some of the other things. So that leads me to my next point, which is small changes will compound drastically, right? You'll have a small change, but it compounds on itself. You might think, I should be strong enough to resist that. So that's absolutely, it's absolutely false. And it's a kind of a falsehood that we hear as men in general. You're not weak. You are human. Humans are designed to take the path of least resistance. All humans, men, women, adults, children, we are designed to avoid the difficult that would potentially kill us and go towards the easy and the path of least resistance, where we're able to continue living and and go about our business, right? So that is just the way that it is. You're not weak if you can't resist something. So what you have to do, and you have to design a path where good behavior is the easiest thing to do. So I talked about getting up earlier, right? If you want to get up earlier, don't rely on willpower. So you don't, like, immediately the first thing you're going to do if in the morning, if you're just going to rely on willpower to get out of bed at a certain time, then you're going to drain that willpower battery immediately down a higher percentage than if you would do something like put the alarm clock across the room, so you have to physically get up out of bed, turn it off, and then you'll be out of bed. So you're not using your willpower in order to get out of bed. To do that, you already have an external stimulus in your environment that is making you get out and do that, and you're not using your willpower to do that, right? Another one could be, and these are examples, right, of where you can create the good behaviors that will help you to facilitate this. If you want to work out, lay your workout clothes next to your bed or somewhere in your room the night before, or put your shoes or your running shoes, if you're going to go running, or whatever, your workout shoes, right next to the bed, so that you get out of bed when that alarm clock goes off, walk across the room, turn it off, your clothes are right there next to it, and your shoes are next to the bed or next to the clothes. You put them on and you put your shoes on. Another example, if you want to eat better, get the junk food out of the house. I still remember when I went through and I did this the first time, because I had kids and we had junk food and they like junk food, right? And I just finally made the decision. That's just a willpower thing. I just will eat. And so I got all the junk food out of the house. So then you don't have to use that willpower. Again, that's a battery. Your willpower is a battery. So you saved part of your charge in the morning getting out of bed, having to get your clothes, having to get to the gym, not having to fight yourself in not eating some of the junk food. So make sure that you are finding these different ways. Again, small changes will compound on themselves and be bigger and bigger and bigger. Let's see. So the other thing I want to say, it sounds small, right? It sounds stupid sometimes, but it is simply tactical. You don't have to fight the environment. You're going to have that energy of willpower. You're going to have that more willpower to fight the difficult and challenging things. And what we're going to talk about next might be the biggest one, which is the internal environment, right? We're so far focused on external environment, which helps, but the biggest fight, at least for me, and I know for a lot of you, and because I talk to a lot of you, is that the one inside our head is the biggest challenge. But just like we clean up our rooms, we have to clean up our mental landscape. We often think that because a thought just pops into our head, it must be true. Okay. That is probably one of the biggest fallacies. If that's the only thing you take away today, and you go away saying, hey, like, maybe every thought in my head is not true, because here's the liberating thing. Your thoughts are not facts. I'm going to say that again. Your thoughts are not facts. Just because you think I'll never recover from this, or you think I'm a failure, does not make that true. I can attest to that. I've got hundreds of guys in our community that will come and attest to that. It's just a thought. It is basically mental weather, snowstorm, rainstorm, or whatever that is passing through your mind. So learning to notice those thoughts without immediately believing them, firstly and foremost, and secondly, acting on them is something that will absolutely change your life. It's the difference between standing, let's use the weather analogy again. It's the difference between standing in a weather storm and getting rain soaked versus being inside a container or a house or whatever and watching from the window. You see the rain, right? You're seeing that thought, but you don't have to drown in that thought. You can see it, you can recognize it. This is where, when we were talking with Joey Klein and the inner matrix system, where he does all of that work in his group about identifying the thoughts that are coming in and then taking those and then harnessing the feelings from those and moving your life in a direction to where you want to realize the feeling you have, and you can harness your thoughts in order to move in that direction. So that's a whole practice, right? That's what Joey's created, inner matrix systems. There's lots of stuff out there that you can utilize and work on. But what number one is just recognizing, again, your thoughts are not facts. It's going to take practice. It's going to take repetition, but I promise you the payoff is going to be real peace. Okay, so just like every other week, we're going to keep these short and sweet, but I'm going to give you some homework. And my goal is for you now to take the extra 15 minutes or 30 minutes that you would have been listening to this and stop and to work on this exercise that I'm going to give you now. We're about three weeks into this. This is the fourth week now, right? So here's your assignment for this week. I don't want you to overhaul your whole life overnight or immediately. I want you to make one environmental change this week. It can be removing one negative input. Maybe you delete a social media app that makes you angry or upset or charged or distracted. Maybe you pour out the alcohol and decide that you're not going to do a drink anymore. Maybe you stop watching the news after 6 p.m. so that you are not in a state of anxiety or upheaval in your mind before you're getting ready for bed. Okay, remove one negative input and then add one supportive input. Maybe instead of watching that news, you're going to put a book on your nightstand and you're going to read that book right before you go to bed. Or maybe that will be put a glass of water on your nightstand so you drink some water instead of that drink that you had after work, right? Put a sticky note on your mirror that reminds you of your goal. Maybe that sticky note says your thoughts are not facts, right? So maybe that could be what it is that's going to help as a reminder every day. Design a space that supports the man you are becoming, not the man that you used to be. So, fellas, as I wrap up this series, I appreciate you listening. I know I've got a lot of great feedback this time on this series. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that you guys are implementing some of this stuff. You've been talking about it. I know that you are trying. Keep trying. Go back, listen to some of this stuff. Thriving after divorce isn't about one single breakthrough moment where everything magically gets fixed. Like I said, there's not a goal line. There's not an end. It's an ongoing process. You are going to build this. And as guys, we're builders, right? So I know that you can do it. And it's built through clear direction. That was our episode 1. It's built through a supportive structure. That was our episode 2. It's built through growing your skills. That was last week's episode. And then finally, what we talked about today, it's built through intentional environments. And so if you're listening to this and know what you need to do, but you're struggling to actually do it, I want you to know that you don't have to do this alone. This is why I built the Divorced Advocate community, because for me, there was a gap between knowing and doing what needed to happen during this process. And I didn't have all those resources were out there. We've brought all these resources together now under one roof for dads going through divorce. And then this is bridged by having a guide and having the other guys in the community, having coaches, having all of the experts that we are aligned with to help you through this. So if you want guidance and support in building that life, I invite you to learn more about the community at thedivorcedadvocate.com. We've got memberships that allow you to dip your toe into it, listen to more of the meetings before you maybe jump onto one of the meetings, see who our experts are, and maybe do some self-guided stuff with the app and some of the self-help stuff that we have through that. And we got full-blown coaching if you want to jump in and get some support and jumpstart that building of that life. And you can check all that out at thedivorcedadvocate.com. The membership tab talks about the membership. The coaching tab talks about the coaching. And then we got all the other resources that are on there, the podcast, the blog, the divorce quiz, everything else. So, fellas, thanks so much for listening over these weeks on these 4 episodes. Keep building. Just keep doing it. Slow, incremental progress is the way to go. And if you found some value in what I shared today, please give us a star rating, a comment. Just again, the algorithms go crazy. Other guys look at it. They go, they read, they make it a comment. They do a star rating. They tell somebody else. We had a whole bunch of guys in from one of our supporters and colleagues that I work with this week on some of our calls. It was absolutely fantastic. So just keep getting that word out there. It helps us immensely. Thanks so much. Have a terrific week and God bless. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.